You can't eat silver, stupid. How many times have stackers heard this? Or maybe this classic. When society breaks down, you're going to be stuck with a pile of metal while you starve to death. Yeah, we've heard that one too. You know what though? It's weird. They might be right in some way after all. Well, except for colloidal silver. You can actually drink that, so meh. But yeah, in a weird way, they're correct, and I'll explain why. Just a note that the following scenario that I'm getting ready to present to you guys is one of the worst case scenarios we could be faced with. We can only hope it never gets to that point. I mean, I'm not dooming and glooming here, but I'm just trying to make a point that precious metals should definitely have a place after an SHTF type event occurs. Stay tuned. Well, despite that negative video, I do want to welcome you to another edition of the Silver and Gold Stack Attack. As always, I appreciate you stopping by and checking out the video. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button if you like what you see here. Both will help me out with the YouTube algorithms. Yep, it's come down to algorithms. It is what it is. So, why are the naysayers about precious metals somewhat right when they say you can't eat silver? Well, in my opinion, the reality of an SHTF scenario is this. There is a pretty damn good chance that your precious metals will be almost useless immediately afterwards, and for several months to a year or more later. Fiat might carry some weight during the initial phase, but don't expect that to last. The initial fight to survive will be absolute chaos, and it's a safe bet that not many are going to trade their valuable food and water for metals or fiat in the early stages of a severe event. So that's when your prep and your stacking prowess will come in handy. That's why it's so damned important to have all your bases covered. So when the time comes, you'll have your precious metals to rebuild and your food and supplies to get you there to that point. So the reality is this: gold and silver has been exchanged for goods and services for centuries. Centuries. I highly doubt that would change in the event of an SHTF situation. By the way, if you keep hearing me say SHTF situation, that is a SHIT hits the fan scenario without swearing on YouTube. Okay? So, yeah, in the event of an SHTF situation, society will eventually rebuild. Jeff Goldblum said it perfectly in Jurassic Park. Life finds a way. It always does. It always has. And the fact that we're still around kind of proves that. We've made it to this point. But the point is, precious metals won't be useful in the early months of that scenario. But when there's a great chance that when things start to settle down, they will be. So tell the naysayers that they're right and they're wrong. The way I see it, as long as we prepare for all scenarios and the stages leading up to the recovery, we'll be ahead of the game. Just bear in mind that stage before the recovery, which I'll call the survival stage, well, that's going to be the most difficult. You got to get through that stage. That's going to be survival, and that's going to be dog eat dog, the most difficult part. But all that being said, do I think we're looking at an extinction level event? No, not for some time. It only takes a couple of screwballs to push a button and put a nuke in our orbit. But most of the leaders of our enemies, they have a pretty good idea that it's pointless to launch a nuke attack against us, if only the fact that we would immediately retaliate unless we were incapacitated. Right? So what good is it to press the button and take out the United States if you know your little country is going to be blasted into smithereens along with it? You've gained nothing and you've lost everything. So nobody wins. So why precious metals? Well, in the EMP attack scenario that I just presented, you have to think about all the methods of payment that will be deemed useless. Cash, pretty quickly. Maybe not right away, but quickly. All your credit cards, Visa, debit, all that stuff, pointless. Cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, altcoins like Algorand, useless. You have no power. The grid is down. Bitcoin will be nothing. It'll be gone. Poof. Venmo, PayPal, even the Fed's digital dollar, or the Fed coin they're calling it, if that's out at the time, that'll be useless. Your bank account will be gone. There's no way to get to your safety deposit box. It would just be an absolute mess. I mean, we're talking about the entire grid being out, so it's highly likely that physical bullion will be the only means of currency at that point. Now also, an SHTF situation doesn't mean all trade and barter will cease. You're going to need something if cash isn't king anymore, right? Keep that in mind that during a collapse, fiat may never return to its former status. It just might not. It might be good for starting fires. Ask a couple of countries that have had their economy turn straight out. They're giving those dollars away on eBay for nothing, pennies. Precious metals, however, will have retained their value, right? They've always been acceptable for bartering when needed. That's not going to change. It may take some time, but it's not going to change. So let's say you made it through that survival stage we were just talking about, or let's use a lesser scenario. Let's say the dollar has just crashed. Okay, it's a good possibility that just 50 ounces of silver will be enough to feed a family for 2 to 3 months. Now, granted, you'd need to have stacked a massive amount to survive a full year without helping yourself, like growing a garden and having a means of survival. But we'll touch on that in just a minute. But another reason to keep precious metals in mind is this. Now, if the US dollar ever truly crashes, I mean just dies out as the world's reserve currency, I got news for you. All other fiats around the globe are going to fail right with it. There presently is not another fiat out there that can step up to the plate and assume that role. So this would be a worldwide problem, which really makes your precious metals an even more valuable investment. I mean, digital dollars and crypto are only going to be good while the grid is up and running. We can't count on that being the case. So there you go. Prepping for the future. Look, the reality is this. If a truly difficult scenario does take place down the road, hoarding PMs just isn't going to be enough. Kudos to you if you built a nice stack, but you really need to diversify your prep in order to ride this storm out. A few basic things you might want to look into. Food. A lot of canned goods have a 2-year shelf life on them. Vegetables, everything. About 2 years. So good thing to stack up on. Water, a means of water purification, medications, first aid kits, vegetable seeds, packets of them. You might have to make a garden, grow your own food. Hand tools, toilet paper. We've already seen what happened to toilet paper during the first COVID wave. Insane. And not to mention products on the shelf in general. You think about it, guys, that was a pandemic. Okay, we're talking about the end of structured currency here. Can you only imagine what we're in for if that's the case? I mean, COVID gave you a taste. A real collapse would be a disaster. End of story. Another thing you need to look into is maybe some survival food. A lot of them out there now, I'm not going to put any names out there, but a lot of them have a shelf life of 20 plus years. So a good investment would be maybe in some survival foods that have a good shelf life on them. Next thing, weapons and ammunition. Critical. Okay, you need to have weapons, you're going to need ammunition. Chaos is going to be a given if we have an SHTF scenario. It's a given. Crime will fly out of control with no police departments to do any policing. We're probably being martial law where the military has stepped in. It's just not going to be good. So it's going to boil down to you having something that others want, and they're desperately going to try to acquire it from you, potentially with violence. So stack ammo and be prepared to use it while ensuring family members can also use it. My wife, for example, hates pistols. I love shooting. She hates it. She won't even go near them. But if we get into a situation, you can better believe that I don't give a damn if she hates it or not. She's going to learn how to fire that weapon. Period. So if she's watching this, sorry, kiddo. You know I love you. So also, the next thing, stack fractional precious metals. Constitutional silver would be great here. The only problem I can see with constitutional is that the reality is many might not know the true value of constitutional, so be sure you have other fractional PMs just in case. I mean, if they don't know that a mercury dime is good for about $2 to $3 worth of silver value, then you're not going to convince them a dime is worth anything. They'll just look at it as a dime and think you're nuts. Point is, why give up a full ounce of metal for a loaf of bread? Doesn't make any sense to do that. So build up your fractionals. Consider having a stash of generics. I know a lot of us, we like to get the sovereign backed, the government backed bullion. I get it. And everybody kind of rats on the generics. I understand. But it's highly likely that silver and gold will be just that in this kind of event. It'll be silver and gold. The fact that someone has a Silver Eagle versus a SilverTown 1 ounce bar might actually not make a difference, even though we all know there's a damn good difference in the premium that we paid for the Eagle, right? So again, they might not be taking the premiums into consideration during a survival event. You got to remember, it's been a long time since precious metals were the sole means of bartering. So the concept of it all might be just insane to some. Okay? So yeah, these are just the basics. I'm not going to go through the full prep list. You guys, there's plenty of sources on the internet to do your own prepping. These are the basics. I mean, the pure basics. You'd have to actually really look into it to make sure you're totally prepared. So this list wasn't all inclusive. You're going to need to customize your plans to your own needs. Okay, we're going to wrap this baby up. Just remember, in the end, food preserves health, PMs preserve wealth, and ammo keeps it in your possession. That's a sentence to live by right there. Proper planning and stacking of precious metals and essential items can help you get out of this post-disaster in far better shape than without, as long as you have the right prep. But lastly, look, don't go out there and start blowing all your money on survival stuff. You have time. I don't think we're going anywhere for the next good amount of time. Don't wait. I mean, start getting your stuff together, but do it at your own pace. Don't screw up your finances running out there and buying generators and survival stuff and this and that, thinking the world is going to end tomorrow. You got time. Okay? Stack slowly, prep slowly, but prep. All right? You have to prep and stack with intelligence, not out of fear and incoherency. Can you eat silver? Nope. But silver can save your butt in an SHTF situation. That's all for this week. If you made it this far, I appreciate you hanging in there. And we will see you next week on a Silver and Gold Stack Attack. Get stacked.